Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode number 34 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carcillo in Los Angeles, joined by my best buddy across the country in Philadelphia, Lee Elias. Lee, how's it going today?
Ray, I'm playing with my action figures. I'm not ashamed of it, like Darth Helmet. I'm just playing with them right now. I got an Indiana Jones in the Indiana Jones right now, getting the skull from the first movie.
The golden idol, yep.
Yep, it's right there. He's not being chased by a gigantic ball yet, but he is about to grab it with the sandbag. If you're watching this at home, you can see that. It's a nice. I've always liked this holiday ornament. And I also just got Boba Fett back here again because we're going to talk about Mandalorian today, which we have to do because the show is just kicking ass and taking names. And just for good measure, Ray, I will throw in a Wayne Gretzky holding the Stanley Cup with the Edmonton Oilers. I believe his fourth cup with the Edmonton Oilers, thus proving once again that this show is about geekdom and sports all at once, because just having a Wayne Gretzky action figure with a Stanley Cup kind of makes you a geek who likes sports. So, I'm good, Ray. Thanks. It was snowing and raining and horrible here for the last 3 days. Today it's sunny. It's because I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you on another episode, and the days are nice.
Yes, weather has turned here. It was all rainy over Thanksgiving weekend for us. Also, for those of you, of course, who listen to us every week, we appreciate it. We're coming to you a little later than normal this week. We're recording on a Tuesday morning instead of our typical Monday. The holiday season, it's going to be a bit hectic with our schedules, but we'll make sure to still try and get an episode a week out, and we'll let you know. Obviously, as things change, hopefully as that.
We owe it to you at home, listening to us while you walk your dog or exercise or whatever you're doing. We're going to be here for you the whole holidays. In fact, we might do another episode together. It's possible. Might not happen. Might happen. We don't know. But all I know is that some other podcasts might not be here for you. But Geeks Who Like Sports will be here for you, in which case we're not. We're really sorry if that happens because the holidays are a hectic time. But we're going to be there for you and you, who's also listening, and you, who's also listening, and I'll stop there because that could go on for a while.
Yes, we had a
happy holidays.
Yes, we have a strong, loyal fan base. We appreciate and love all of you. And again, hey, don't forget to share the podcast, join the Facebook group.
Subscribe.
It helps. It all helps. This week was.
Hey, today's Giving Tuesday. Give us a 5-star review or subscription. We appreciate it.
Yes, 5 stars
That's not what
on
Giving
iTunes.
Tuesday's about.
Yes, but we would appreciate it anyway.
Seriously, do it.
Yes.
Good. Do you think I intimidated anybody?
No, I think we're fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We have a great episode planned for you guys. We're gonna, like Lee mentioned, we're going to talk about Mandalorian. We've also got the Black Widow trailer dropped last night at a weird time, but we'll get to that. NFL
really
talk.
Weird, yeah.
The playoffs are starting to shape up. NHL talk. We have a great, really fun mashup for you this week. But before we get started, part of the reason why we didn't record yesterday is that this is my busy season. It's a lot of work involved. But also, unfortunately, my grandfather passed away at the age of 88 yesterday. He was a Korean War veteran, was very close to him. He suffered for a long time, so we do take a bit of solace that he's finally found some peace, hopefully. But this, even though he doesn't know what a podcast is, never knew, didn't get it, I'm sure he's proud, and that this episode is dedicated to him. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, so that's a bit of a somber note. But again, life happens, right? So,
hey, we're gonna celebrate this episode like we're gonna celebrate him. That's how you have to look at it.
Yes. So we got a lot to celebrate this episode, and we're going to kick things off with episode 4 of The Mandalorian. It was a great episode. It was a bit of what we're calling a side quest.
Spoiler alert. If you haven't watched it yet, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to listen to the show anymore if you're not watching this show.
We gave you a whole extra day this week.
Yeah. You got to watch it, okay?
Yes.
Okay, and if you haven't watched it yet, then watch it and listen to us. You don't have to sacrifice us, okay? To be fair.
Yes, that's true.
You can do both, okay?
You can do both.
Mandalorian episode 4. Sorry. Spoiler alert. I am Ray, you are too. We're sticklers. Like, we don't ever want to spoil anything. We really don't. In fact, I want to punch people. Well, like I'm gonna go see Star Wars with my brother in Washington, D.C. In a few weeks, right? And it's like you really got to be careful around the theater because like you'll be walking or getting to go in, people will be walking out of the show like, I can't believe Darth Vader came back and killed Luke and blah blah blah. Yeah. It's like, shut up! Are you serious right now? You're not mentally aware that there are so many people here about to see that movie? Are you serious right now? You're so into yourself and selfish, you son of a gunlark piece of. Don't do that. Don't.
Oh, you piece of bantha poodoo.
Poodoo. Don't do it. Okay, like have some common sense. It's like sorry, I know I'm diverting here a little bit, but it's like people online. I wish you would stop writing every little thing you're finding about the rise of Skywalker right now. Like, Princess Leia has a lightsaber in this photo. Shut up! Shut up! I don't want to see anymore. I want to be surprised. Ray, I gotta tell you, when The Force Awakens came out, this is the God honest truth. Mm-hmm. That is the most shut off I've ever made myself from anything. Like, I didn't want to know what happens. I didn't even realize that Kylo Ren was a guy until maybe a day before I saw the movie, right? You know what I mean? Like that's how. Because for those of you who don't remember, like you never saw him with his mask off in the trailer, and you didn't know who it was, or like if you didn't look it up. So it's like I'm really trying to do that, and like I'm really good at like when I'm scrolling, knowing not to look at what I don't want to look at. But like, please, just internet, help yourself. I mean, like, you could barely hold together the Baby Yoda stuff for, like, a week. But you kind of did, to be fair. I mean, just a little bit.
A little bit.
Okay. So, please, don't spoil the movie.
Yeah.
That's the movie guy voice.
Yes.
All right?
We're at this point, we're a little bit more than 2 weeks away from Episode 9 hitting theaters. So, hopefully, we can last that long. But Mandalorian Episode 4. The adventure now, they're off. The Mandalorian has Baby Yoda, and he needs a place to hide out. He finds himself, and again, this is my one major complaint for the show. Still, none of the planets have been named. Wherever they're going, we still don't know, and that bothers me. Because I like to know what the planets are, and give a sense of where the galaxy is, and have that star map.
I think we do know we're on the outer rim. I think that Carl Weathers' character did say something like that, like, hey, you can go to the central for the Republic is, and he says that's a joke. So I think they're on the outer rim.
Yeah, they're in that like nebulous area between the remnant, the Imperial remnant, and the New Republic. And so there's
and for those of you listening, that's like Tatooine area, if you will. Like that's kind of like, I'm not saying they're
a lot
Tatooine,
of backwater planets.
That's what the outer rim is.
Yeah, and the planet that they were on this week was a backwater planet, little small planet, sparsely populated farming planet. But they find this planet that's basically being overrun by I think it's Colusian raiders, and these farmers are
sure, that's what they're called.
Yeah. It's an alien species in Star Wars. I'm pretty sure it's the Colusians.
Yeah. If you know what it is, comment below. Feel free to call us out.
So there's raiders there, and of course, when the Mandalorian lands, it's kind of like, oh, there's these people in trouble. I don't wanna really do anything, but he's already shown that he's a good guy, and that he obviously would he going to against the Empire to get Baby Yoda back, that he has a conscience, and so he meets up with somebody who's already on the planet, and it's great dialogue. He meets Gina Carano, what's her name? Cara. Her name.
It's something.
Cara is her character name. She's basically a former rebel, shock trooper. Which was awesome. Just absolutely great backstory, and they have this real moment, and it's like they're clearly the two seemingly only combat trained people on the planet, and it's like, I guess planet's only big enough for one of us, I guess.
This one's taken. That's what he said. I do want to talk about their initial dialogue, because like Jon Favreau, whoever's writing these, Bryce Dallas Howard actually directed this episode.
Yes.
But Favreau and the writers have really done this great job of like answering decades old Star Wars questions in like 2 lines or 1 line. Like we talked about this before about we found out what disintegration looks like, right?
Yes.
And now one of the questions is like, well, what kind of happened after Endor, right? Yeah. And Cara, the character, pretty much says like, well, look, they call this in. We kind of took care of all the old Imperial leaders, meaning they assassinated all of them.
Yep.
They took them all out, right? So that the Rebel Alliance or the new
New Republic.
Sorry, the New Republic came in and pretty much hunted down all of the old Imperial leaders, right? And put tribunals or whatever, but they took them out. It sounded like they just murdered them all.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's funny. There's this line. He goes, "Well, then what happened?" And he's, "Well, the peacekeepers came in and like they ushered in a new time of hope." And it was like, wow, you guys just pretty much put a epilogue on Return of the Jedi we didn't get.
Yeah. The 5-year gap between Return of the Jedi and the Mandalorian was summed up in 2 sentences of backstory from Cara.
Yeah. Yeah. And I liked it because it showed that the Republic had a little bit of a dark side, a little bit like they weren't afraid to, and again, actually,
they treated the Empire like Nazis.
Exactly. Well, and I was just going to go there. Like they did historically what happened after World War II, which is always great source material, by the way.
Yeah.
For Star Wars. But yeah, I just wanted to note that because like little dialogues like that, like as a fan, it's like really appreciated. It's really appreciated when you get like these little nuggets of things. Because like that's honestly, if you think about Return of the Jedi in 1983, like that movie has a super open ending. Like I don't think it did for the time. But as time has gone on, it's like, okay, well, what happens with the Force Ghosts? What happens with Luke and Leia and Han? And what happens with the Empire? I mean, they blew up the Death Star. Now what? So trust me, there have been a lot of nerdy debates about this. Yeah, throughout Ray and I's life with lots of different people. But Jon Favreau has given the baton of power. And he has used it to answer questions.
Now that the expanded universe has become Star Wars Legends in terms of Disney canon, they needed to fill in a gap and recreate the history.
I'm still a little bitter about some of those, but yes.
We've talked about this before. I mean, the Thrawn trilogy is still, The Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn is still some of the best books you'll ever read, and the fact that they don't count anymore is infuriating.
Yeah, it really is. To be fair, they've given Zahn the chance to write again, which is really nice. So moving forward in the episode, obviously, this is one of those episodes. I think Ray, you told me this, but someone described it to you as almost like an episode of Hercules, which was really a great. Analogy.
Exactly. That's what it felt like. It felt like Hercules or Xena, one of those episodes where it's like a completely encapsulated one-shot episode. There's a problem introduced. The Mandalorian has to solve it. He does it in his way, in a fun, entertaining way. Plenty of action, and then they move on. They have to. The end of the episode basically is like he has to leave the planet and he has to continue on.
The legend continues. So some notable things from this episode. I'll save the best one for last. But one, there was a small time jump in this episode. I don't know if a lot of people realized that, but about 2 to 3 weeks pass in this episode, which in one line they say, when he's helping these people and Baby Yoda is there and he's kind of becoming one with the people. He's enjoying his time there. And one of the women says, you've been here for a few weeks. So there has been a small time jump in the show, which is notable. Again, I don't think they do episodes like this. I mean, as much as this felt like a one shot, there's obviously going to be something with this in the future because there's clearly a little bit of a love spark there between the Mandalorian and the head female character who is the only one's weapon trained there.
Yeah, she's got a story to her because she was sniping those pots and pans in the training sequence.
Yes, so there's more there. I can't remember her name right now, but obviously the cherry on top of this episode was the Mandalorian restoring the rightful amount of fear to an ATST vehicle, which was unmanned. Apparently, it was autopilot. Had red eyes, and they talk about you can't take this thing down with the blasters. It kills squadrons of people. One of the things that the movies never really get to do is show you how dark and evil and hardcore the weaponry is of the Empire for various reasons. I mean, these are kids' films too. Right, but this episode really didn't hold back in showing how powerful an AT-ST can be. It makes you think, are they going to show an AT-AT at some point, which are way more powerful than AT-ST.
Yeah, the only time
you ever really well done.
Really, Rogue One is really the only time you ever get to really see AT-ATs and a lot of those. That to me is the one film where you do see a bit of the power of the Empire and the fear of those landwalkers that have kind of always been, like you said, in Empire, they trip them up with a tow cable, and the chicken walkers are kind of I mean, they're taken out by Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, so it's kind
of it's borderline silly. It's not
Yeah.
silly, but it's borderline silly. And like, I'm not taking anything away from Empire. I mean, it was a great scene and stuff like that, but they don't show the might. And like you said, in Rogue One, apparently there's a lot more AT-ATs in that they cut out just because they had to change the ending of the film towards the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I actually, the scene from Rogue One that I equated to is Darth Vader at the end killing all of the rebel soldiers or the guys on the Corvette. That was what this felt like. It was like, yes, and I love that the Mandalorian, because the Mandalorian is kind of a PG-13 type show, if you will, probably a little more. I mean, if there's a between a PG-13 and R, and it's not holding back to do a lot of these type of things of like, let me show you how fearful you should be of this. This is not so much a kid's show. You know what I mean? This is more of a Game of Thrones type thing without being horrible at the end.
I mean,
ATSTs.
I mean, they have dual blasters at the front. They have grenade launchers, missile launchers. Like they can heavy cannons. Like depending on how they're outfitted. And and it's interesting though too that like the idea that this Raider clan, right, like that these Marauders, because there's probably Imperial weaponry being sold on the black market. There's Imperial weaponry left behind from various battles and outposts that are probably abandoned after the war. And like this stuff is out there. Like and if you have the right resources, that even somebody like this backwater band of Marauders can get it and can really kind of take a stranglehold on this small population. Like I mean, the fear and terror that one vehicle was able to put on this village, like you said. I mean, like Gina Carano's line about saying that, like, I've seen these things take out entire battalions is like, I believe it was a battalion. Like, I mean, it's like, that's like, it says everything you need to know. And again, it really establishes some of these classic vehicles and characters and you know, weaponry as the monstrosities, and it makes you believe again how the Empire was able to take over in the first place.
Yeah, well, and I think both her and the Mandalorian talk about these things are powerful, and that's the point, right? And so it's cool that we have kind of a live action show. We forget saying this. This is the first live action show in Star Wars history that can kind of bring some of this back to light. So yeah, it was a great episode. Obviously, episode 4. I really remember there's only 8 episodes, so I'm really excited to see where they're going to go from here. You know, if there's going to be a kind of more of an acceleration of some sort in times or story, but we might not get that. Like, so a couple more things on Star Wars real quick before we move on. So one is that just want to put this out there because I've been reading it. A friend of mine actually told me this idea a couple weeks ago, and I saw an article about it. But there is a small number of people that think that the Mandalorian might possibly be a woman under the helmet. That it might be like a surprise ending to the season that the helmet will come off and the voice is just Pasquale's, but it's actually a female. I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, they're not going to pull Samus around.
Yeah.
They're not going to.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's just like it won't bother me if they do that. It won't.
No,
but
yeah,
I don't think they're going to go that way. But like I said, you know, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, but I think this is also just a common thing that comes up, like when the character wears a helmet and never takes it off. Right. Keeping in mind too that they've already shown these kind of flashback scenes where it, you know, I believe it's clearly a young boy, not a girl.
Yeah.
So I mean, but you never know. You never know. I just want to put that out there. The other thing I want to talk about is Freddie Prinze Jr. did a pretty big what's it called? Rant a few weeks ago about Star Wars and how it's made for kids, and that, you know, how simplistic the movies are. And I did agree with him on the movies. In terms of what he was saying was that, you know, people want dark Jedis and they want all these complicated storylines, and that, you know, that's just not going to happen in the film because the film follows kind of a very strict guideline of good versus bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he claims that he knows how the movie's going to end. He's probably not wrong, but I love that the Mandalorian doesn't have to live by that, and that's where I like where Star Wars is going, is that we have these TV shows and video games now that allow you to leave that parameter. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I do expect the Rise of Skywalker to be somewhat black and white at the end. It's good versus evil and so forth and so on. But I want to see what happens with, you know, the Mandalorian and their ability to stretch that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing, is that this can play in the gray areas. In television in general and on Disney Plus in general, these shows, the Obi-Wan show that's coming out, Fallen Order, the video game, you can kind of play more into these gray areas. And also, I want to mention, I loved, and there wasn't a lot that happened. There was a lot of complaints about this week's episode of The Mandalorian because a lot of people were like, well, nothing happened. And it's like a lot.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know that. But also, sometimes you don't need... You can get you can just have a nice self-enclosed adventure that just works on character development, introduces other people. We already know that they're shooting season 2 of The Mandalorian, and Gina Carano's character Cara comes back in season 2. So I mean, you don't know what seeds they're just planting with this episode. It's very early on.
How about this? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, not to mention, we also still got the fact that even though you had the time lapse you mentioned, the bounty hunters are still after Baby Yoda because the episode ends with Gina Carano saving Baby Yoda by killing a sniper that was going to take it out, and we know that those markers are basically still out and still working, and that's why the Mandalorian has to move on. So even though it was a more self-contained standalone episode, it still existed in terms of keeping the story going, that they're still on the run, and that there's still this threat out there to the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. Yeah,
and look, it's a double-edged sword, and this is where the trolls kill me, right? Because they want it both ways. All right, you don't know the severity of this episode. You probably will by the end of the season, or at some point, this episode will have a little more depth to it. But even if it doesn't, if they don't make that episode, then we're going to have to hear about, well, why doesn't he just go hide on the planet, the farthest reaches in space where no one does anything? Well, they just answered that question, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing, too, is this. If you can name me one show, not movie, one show that doesn't have an episode like this that might not have as much impact, please let me know, because you will not be able to do it. There's never been a show in TV history that doesn't have an episode. I don't want to call it a throwaway episode because I don't think that's what this is. But it just had an episode that was just okay. Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, Inspector Gadget. It doesn't matter what you pick. All right? They all have an episode that they just made an episode to make an episode. Okay? Yeah. Keeping in mind that I don't think they did that here. Right? Yeah. I think there is much more to this episode than we realize.
Yeah, again, it plants seeds. Right. There's seeds being planted.
Yeah, clearly. And pun intended with them being farmers and learning how to use weaponry and stuff like that. It also has character development. It introduced a new character. As Ray just said, it also let you know that there's people in the universe still searching for Baby Yoda. There's a lot of things that were in this episode. Showed a little bit of a love interest. There was a lot of things established here. All right, but don't let the MCU spoil you, please. Even though this is by the same people, okay? They have years between movies to make sure that they all connect. And arguably the worst MCU movie, The Dark World by Thor, I call it like a book now. Yeah. Was brought back in Endgame to become a very important movie. Just relax, okay? Like that. If you want to see a bad episode of television, let us know below. Ray and I'll recommend some episodes of shows that we would love for you to watch.
Yes.
All right. I remember there's an episode in Lost that had. So Lost was a show that went 3-4 seasons longer than it should have because they didn't want to take it off the air because it was doing so well.
Yeah.
There were episodes in that show. I'm like, what the hell did I just watch? This was legit a waste of my time, and I don't feel like I went anywhere. And you can't say that about The Mandalorian this week. That's how much better it was. Anyway, Mandalorian episode 4, excellent. I think we're going to continue to top out these episodes each week because there's so much fun.
Yeah. For me, episode 3 was still the best, but episode
easily.
But it's still, again, it's also very early. It's episode 4 of the first season, so
as long as they don't kill the White Walkers with 2 episodes left, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
All right, Game of Thrones, looking at you. Still disappointed. It's funny now because Game of Thrones has all these some alternate endings and alternate scenes, and I'm like, no, I'm not watching these. You have not earned my respect back yet. At least for the last season, for the first 6 seasons or whatever, you did fine. But I was like, I have no desire to know that it could have been better. That's legit how I feel. I love when Marvel outtakes come out, Ray, because I'm like, yeah, these are nice, but I understand why they're not in there. Don't try and sell me outtakes that are going to make the ending better. I don't want to see that. I don't want to feel like, it could have been better. It's also, you know what we should talk about? This wasn't on the script today, but we should talk about the SnyderCut of Justice League.
Yeah, I mean, that's getting a lot of traction again on the internet, the SnyderCut. Yeah. A lot of people want to release it, want to see it. I mean,
How
a
do
lot
you
of
feel about that?
a lot of the actors, a lot of the people involved in the movie want it to be released. I mean, the fact that Whedon came in and supposedly reshot, I supposedly like 80% of the movie or something. Like, I mean, look, if it's that much better, I mean, you did it with the Richard Donner cut. I mean, obviously, many years after with Superman,
and that was
2,
better.
And that was better.
That was better.
And it's just like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think that if there's this much demand for it and the footage is there, and if Snyder wants to get back involved and to piece it together in post or whatever, I think he should do it just like he did with Donner, just to bury the hatchet. The reason why Donner cut took so long is you didn't have the venom of the internet to power that. But like that's just it. But there was demands for that for years as well. It's just that now people have the platforms to be more vocal about this stuff. And I think that Warner Brothers should just suck it up and just be like, here's the Snyder Cut. I mean, the reason why they don't want to do that is that if it is that much better than what they released, this is a universe that they seemingly want to start getting away from in terms of the Snyderverse, in terms of that continuity. That's why you're having a new Batman movie. You had the Joker one-off. It feels like they want to start distancing themselves from that. And if the Snyder Cut ends up being amazing and that brings people back on board, it's going to just completely torpedo any plans they might have in the future.
Here's the thing, is we actually know we're going to be getting a Wonder Woman trailer here in the next day or two. So like that, the thing is that universe still exists. So it's like, right. I don't know what the risk is. I mean, unless it's going to contradict the films they have coming out. I don't know if they're doing another Aquaman or not, but
they are doing an Aquaman. They are doing a Shazam sequel.
Yeah, you might want to listen. Like I know Danny Elfman came out. I was like, well, we didn't write music for this, and people are like, oh, they can't make it. They didn't write the music. I'm like, then just write the music.
Yeah,
and do what you would do normally. But we'll see. I think the fact that the actors and actresses came out and said like, let's do this. That always strikes me because I'm like, that means they think the story's better.
Yeah.
All right. That's a pretty FU to the. To the current horrendous mess that movie was.
Yeah.
All right,
it's an FU to Whedon. It's an FU to everything that basically happened with that whole scenario.
I just love living in a place where this is a big problem.
Yeah. No,
just wanted to say that.
True. That's
Ray, I had another big problem. I had another big problem recently. So I had a Honda Ridgeline truck for 10 plus years, right? And I adored this truck. It was Stanley Cup silver. That was the color I said it was. Or Death Star silver, depending on what I felt like that day. And I adoringly named my truck Stanley. That was his name, after Stanley Cup, right? And people knew him as Stanley. People got in, said, I'm going to Stanley. I used to say to my wife, instead of, go ahead, I'll get her out in the Falcon. I used to say, I'll get her out with Stanley. I felt like Han Solo every time I said it, okay? But the time came not too long ago where I had to move on from Stanley. It was time to get a new car. I've got 2 kids. So I traded in Stanley, and I had to get a minivan. And for the last 6 months, I was thinking about calling the van Stanley. I just, continue the tradition, but just didn't fit. It just didn't fit, right? So I've been looking for names for the van for a long time. I couldn't find one. I thought Big Bertha for a while, which was a fish in Super Mario Brothers, just to show you the nerdist. But I don't want to call my van Big Bertha. That's cliche. I was thinking of hockey names. I couldn't think of it. And then Ray yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, within 1 second, he knew what the name should be. Now, just to give you a little bit of background on this, I knew I wanted to go with a geek name and not a sports name because I had the sports name for a long time, right? So on the front of my van, I had one of those like license plates that kind of was like, hey, you bought it here kind of thing. You know what I mean? I left it on there for a month because I got good service, so I didn't mind advertising it. But then I went online and I said, I want to get a new front license plate. And I was going between the American flag, there were some Star Wars things, and I saw a really cool looking Jedi symbol. So I bought it and I put it on the front of my car. So now I'm driving around this minivan, okay, with this huge Jedi symbol in front. All right. Now, that must have spurred Ray's imagination, and I'm going to let him unveil it. But I said, I want to give it a name, and someone had said to me, why don't you just name it Mando? I'm like, that's pretty cool. Maybe I should have gotten the the Mandalorian symbol and put it on the front. Just Mando's a cool name. Maybe I'll call it Mando. And I said this to Ray, and he goes, no, Lee, it's
the Vandalorian.
The Vandalorian! It makes so much sense. I knew in that moment. It was like when my wife said, "Why don't we name our son Logan Leon," which means like lion. I said his name's Logan the Lion. Sold. Done. Yeah. Wolverine, Lion. Everyone won. Okay. Yeah. Vandalorian. I knew in the moment. It was like watching it be born. The Vandalorian. Now, there's multiple reasons why this is awesome. Right. 1, Mandalorian. 2, the word DeLorean is in Vandalorian. DeLorean, my favorite movie. Back to the Future. Right. The doors slide open like the Mandalorian's ship. Okay, now, to be fair, my 25-year-old apprentice, Travis, my Padawan learner, who does another show with me on We Live Hockey, he said, "Lee, I think you've reached your final dad form." When I told him this, and I said, "Yes!" Because I drive the Vandalorian. And then I proceeded, Ray, we were out last night, I drove the Vandalorian to pick him up. Yeah. And as he approached the car, the window came down. I was blasting the Mandalorian theme. And it was legit like he locked eyes with me. I locked eyes, and all he hears, dun 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 dun. He looked at me and started laughing. And he said, "It's the Vandalorian. It's the Vandalorian." Yeah, it's the Vandalorian. So, Ray, cheers to you, sir.
Thank you.
On making the Vandalorian. It will be in my family for years. My children will know it as the Vandalorian until they tell me that it's lame and I should shut up, and I will not. I will prevail with the Vandalorian until my time is up. Because, Ray, you know why? This is the way. This is the way to Starbucks. This is the way to New Jersey. This is the way to wherever I'm going. This is the way. In the Vandalorian.
Awesome.
Listen, Ray, you've had a lot of gems in your life.
I'm happy that made you.
I don't think you know how happy that made me. Yeah. Right? Like, you never had to name a child. You don't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they got to live with that for the rest of their life. Like, I've met people named Ezekiel. I don't know what their parents were thinking. Right? Right? But the Vandalorian makes sense.
Yeah.
If you have a van out there, I want you to use it. You can call your van the Vandalorian too. Okay? Yeah. Or the Slave One. That's completely up to you. Okay? If you don't know that reference, look it up, or else I'm going to look really bad. But yeah. I want more that. This is the way. This is the way.
This is the way. You know what this is?
Can't wait to see this highlight clip up.
Yeah. This is also the way to we need to transition. You mentioned the Marvel movies before.
I did.
Briefly want to touch on overnight. About midnight my time in the West Coast, 3 a.m. East Coast time.
Yeah, it was 3 a.m.
I guess prime time, morning time for Europe.
It would be 8 a.m. in England. Yeah, it would be. So in Europe, it would be about 9, 10 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Weird. The Black Widow, the first trailer for Black Widow came out. Obviously, coming out May 2020. Starred Scarlett Johansson and David Harbour. It's obviously a prequel. The trailer looked good. It's the usual Marvel fare. I personally am not as excited for this as probably a lot of other folks. Mostly because I'm not a big prequel guy, and it's hard to be excited for when you know the Black Widow's dead. To me, anyway. I
wonder if prequel is the right wording here. I know what you're saying. So this movie takes place between Civil War and Infinity War. Right. Okay, so this is essentially what she was doing during that time, which is exactly they did this with Thor and Hulk. They did this with obviously Iron Man.
Right. They're filling in a gap.
Yeah. So, see, when I say prequel, I think before everything. But this does take place. So, but here's the thing, right? And I hear you. Yeah, but here's the thing. Because I actually hear you. Because I think we all have a little bit of we know what happens. But Marvel and Disney know that too. So I'm expecting something to shock me here. I don't think it's just going to be a Black Widow movie and gone. We do know that Iron Man is in the movie. That's not a spoiler alert. I mean, he's got to be, right? So we know Robert Downey Jr. is in this movie at some point.
Right.
So I have a feeling this is going to unveil something much larger that will affect future Marvel films, and they'll do it in a way that they'll explain whether they do it very obviously or not. There'll be an explanation in this movie of why this movie is happening now and why they didn't tell us this before. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. They're gonna make sure that this movie is still relevant and important. And yeah, like you said, there is the fact that we don't know yet, but either a villain or an organization or something along those lines, there'll be some narrative element that we're going to tell you this now so that it's fresh in your mind, because this is going to come back and it's going to affect things later on. It could be AIM, it could be a variety of organizations. I don't know. Some sort Hydra, something like. We know Taskmaster is in it, although I really don't like his design. Personally,
we saw that in the trailer, right?
Yeah, he was doing the bow. He was doing the bow and arrow with all in black. He looked like the dude from the Crysis video games. I was not thrilled with that. To me, the best part of the trailer is David Harbour.
Absolutely, he was hilarious in that. Introducing a character that everyone will just call him the Soviet Union Captain America moving forward.
Yeah, he's Red Guardian. He's basically the Russian Captain America equivalent. In the comics, he was one of Natasha's husbands. In this, it feels more like he's either an older brother or a father figure of some kind.
Yeah, but we don't know. We said that too.
We don't know. We don't know for sure their relationship, but it does not feel definitely doesn't feel like husband and wife kind of thing like it was in the comics. Yeah. And I also have mentioned this. It's very telling that Scarlett Johansson does not do a Russian accent when everybody else around her does a Russian accent.
Yeah, well, and I think they do that on purpose. But like here's some things to think about, and these are all just fan theories right now. Like, keep in mind that the Winter Soldier is going to have a not a presence in the movie, but I'm saying that program is that's from Russia, so there's probably something about that. When they say we have to fix something, I have a feeling they're going to be going to the Red Room, or maybe not. You don't know. Yeah. But there's going to be something about how the Black Widow came to be that's going to affect the rest of the story and probably justify some of her actions. But you have to remember that, the Winter Soldier program took place in Soviet Russia. Also, this movie takes place obviously closer to now, so there's going to be a lot of interesting things here. And like I said, the for those of you who don't know, his character is essentially Captain America, Soviet Union. So it's gonna be interesting to see what a washed up Captain America might look like. Keeping in mind too that Captain America is alive during this time too. So there's a lot of things that could happen in this film, and it's going to ease us into this next phase, whatever that becomes. I mean, and I believe is the next movie after this the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I know the TV shows are coming in between that.
I'm not sure. I don't know when Shang-Chi launches. I don't know.
Oh, that's that too. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. So it's cool because keeping this relative, we haven't seen a lot of Marvel stuff recently. They've been letting Star Wars kind of have its time in the sun, thank goodness.
Yep.
And they took a break. They took a break after Spider-Man of just let people breathe, from what happened. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see how they do it. So Ray, just so you know, I agree with you that in terms of continuing a story like the other films do, I have to know what happens next. Yeah. This doesn't have that for obvious reasons.
Right.
As a cinema person, as a production person like you, I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to do it, because I think they're going to do something that draws you back in, right? You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm still going to see it, but I'm not the other movies I had to see night one. I'll see it in the theater, but I'm not rushing to the theater to see it.
No, whatever. He's going to get free tickets to see it a week early. Don't listen to anything this guy says. You know how this stuff works out.
Just like Star Wars. But,
yeah. Oh, you son of a woman! You had to throw that in.
Oh, man. Yeah, I get to see Star Wars 3 days early. But,
so all right.
Okay. So that's a good note to end on our geek stuff for. We'll move on now into the sports section. A lot happened this week.
Oh yeah, this is much better. Thanks. This will make me feel much better this week.
The advantage of doing the show on a Tuesday is we have the results of Monday Night Football, and Monday Night Football this week had huge playoff implications as the Seahawks narrowly edged out the Vikings in Seattle. The Seahawks now basically jump up to the 2 seed because of the virtue of a tiebreaker with the Niners, they are in first place of the West. The Vikings are still holding on to the 6th seed, but are now only a game up on the Rams, who also won this week, and only 2 games up on the Bears, who have slowly but surely crawled back into the picture after wins against weak teams like the Giants and the Lions, and now can really kind of cement themselves possibly still back in the picture by possibly knocking off the dreadful Cowboys this coming week. Also,
the only team that's
the
dreadful.
Saints, the first team to clinch a playoff berth, did so on Thanksgiving, knocking off the Falcons. They have officially won the NFC South and officially cannot go lower than the 3 seed in the NFC.
Yep.
So they are locked in. We need to mention it. Speaking of going back to the Cowboys, they lost terribly to the Buffalo Bills. Neither team had beaten anybody so far this year. You can argue the Bills still haven't beaten anybody because the Cowboys looked absolutely atrocious. This team is falling apart from within. Jerry Jones had comments about how frustrated he is. Jason Garrett, his contract is up, is probably on the chopping block. But somehow, with everything laid out there in front of them, the Eagles... Lee, I'm going to let you talk about the Eagles against the Dolphins.
What do I say about the Eagles and Dolphins game? Well, the Dolphins won the game.
Yeah.
Eagles lost the game. Listen. Let's talk about it. I'm not going to defend the Eagles here at all. I'm usually pretty positive. I mean, this was, and I love Doug Peterson, but this was a coaching mistake. Mm-hmm. All right, I blame the coaching staff for this loss. I don't look at the players for that. They had a 14-point lead, I think, like late into the third quarter. Miami throws a really funny and cool trick play, and somehow that broke the Eagles' will to survive. And then Miami came all the way back and beat the Eagles pretty convincingly. Actually, it was embarrassing as a fan. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was embarrassing. You have to win this game. What's even more embarrassing is the fact that the Cowboys and the Eagles seem to just be passing the crap sandwich back and forth, like they don't want to be in the playoffs. Yeah. Like both teams don't want to be in the playoffs. I mean, and this is what's tough. The Eagles are still very much alive.
If the Eagles win out, the Eagles win the division with a 9-7 record because they play by virtue of beating the Cowboys.
Here's the thing. They will respond. I don't think they're going to lose next week, but it's like, now you get this game with the Cowboys, and it's just going to be this battle of, like, who's worse. Like, and the NFC East is really bad this year. But, like, terrible. It's embarrassing. I also want to give credit to Miami, though. Like, they won the game. They worked hard to win the game, and it was not easy and defied all odds there to do it. They came back and they found a way to win. I mean, you can't take that away from them. Everybody's talking about how the Eagles lost, which they did. There's no excuse for the Eagles to lose a must-win game. But you look at the coaching staff for that. How was the team not prepared? How did you allow a team to run a trick play on you and allow that moment to be the catalyst that changed it? Not the play, but what the hell was that? Right? And the other thing, too, is like 1,000+ Eagles fans flew to Miami for that game. Like, I get annoyed when, like... When I was coaching, I didn't hesitate to use the crowd if we were in an away game. Like a lot of people came to see you today. You better play better, right? And it was just a comedy of errors. It was a weird week though too, because like the Redskins won, so now the Redskins are still in the hunt. I mean, not really.
If the Redskins were to win out and Dallas were to lose 3 of their last 4, and Philly were to lose 2 of their last 4, and which I believe you guys both also still play Washington one more time.
We do. So
Washington could technically, mathematically win the division with a 7-9 record.
Well, I would love for them to do that. I mean, just to see something miraculous happen out of that division.
It would be hysterical. Also, fun little stat. Yeah. This is the first time that a team was playing a team with 7 or more losses and had that big a lead and blew it. First time in 48 times. So 47-1.
Thanks, Ray.
47.
Thanks, Ray, for letting everyone know that.
The Eagles are that one. To blow a lead against a team with 7 or more losses and have a lead at halftime.
This might be petty. This might be petty, but Green Bay beat the Giants. Green Bay won. Packers won.
Yeah, no, the Giants are terrible. The Giants are pretty much locked into the unless the Bengals who
knocked
off the Jets.
Felt like to be an Eagles fan for a long time. Now you know what it's like to use that to your advantage. I'm like, we suck. Everybody expects us to win. Now you know what that feels like.
The Bengals knocked off the Jets, so the Giants. Yeah. The Giants are clearly going to get at least the 2 pick, but if the Bengals keep winning, who knows? Maybe they'll get the number 1 pick.
Should note that the Texans beat the Patriots.
Which is huge.
Bill Belichick was very upset.
Yeah, that's huge because now the Baltimore Ravens are the 1 seed in the AFC, virtue of tiebreaker, and the Texans are fighting hard to hold on to that division. They play the Titans twice in the last 3 weeks of the season. Those 2 games could decide that division because the Titans also won. The Steelers beat the Browns. The Steelers, honestly, Tomlin might be coach of the year, taking that team and basically they don't have a stranglehold in the 6th seed in the AFC. But they're definitely cementing themselves. They gotta keep winning. Yeah, if they keep winning, it's all them. Because the Raiders played horribly in Kansas City. Surprise, surprise. So I mean, it's very interesting playoff picture all around for sure. But yeah, no, definitely this was a heartbreaking loss for your Eagles. And also, I just want to quickly mention. We vehemently agree the NFC East is terrible this year.
Horrible. Yeah, it's noticeably horrible.
It's noticeably worse. For everybody, though, who is saying that it is a travesty, that there's going to be a team from the NFC East represented in the playoffs. Well, now you all know how we felt, especially as Giants fans, in 2010 when the 7-9 Seahawks won the division and the 10-6 Giants missed the playoffs because there was a team from the NFC West in the playoffs.
Yeah,
or
this
the
happens.
Or the 10-6 Patriots when Matt Castle was the quarterback and they missed the playoffs in the AFC. I think this was 15 years ago. That was the year that Brady tore his ACL.
Yeah, I remember that.
This happens. It's the way it is. It's like capitalism, folks. It's the best system we got, and we do what we can. And it's like just deal with the fact that there's going to be a team with probably less than 10 wins in the playoffs, and they're going to win the NFC East. This happens in football. It's happened many times before. The Giants won. I think obviously the Giants had a 9-7 record one of the years they won the Super Bowl. Like this happens. Yeah. It's all about being who. If the Eagles win the next 4 games and go on a run into the playoffs. You don't want to go into Philadelphia in the first round. I'm sorry, you don't. Dallas, nobody cares. Dallas sucks. But like, I mean, it's. Look, this. I mean, again, that's why the Saints, who went to Seattle that year in 2010, that was beast mode. That was the beast mode game where he just throwing people around left and right, and the Seahawks won that game. You don't know what's going to happen, and like Chris Berman always says, that's why they play the game. So everybody who's who's complaining that there's a team that's coming out of the NFC East this year, shut up.
Yeah.
So sorry, that's been bothering me the past couple of days. So because people have short memories. People have short memories, and that bothers me. So.
Yeah. Well, in yes, they do. And the thing is like, this is not, there's always one division that's kind of the thumper of the NFL. All right. So, like, and we're it this year.
It's our turn.
Yay.
It's our turn.
Yes.
So.
And like I said, this is one of those things where it's like, what's funny for me to watch is, like, let's just say the Eagles do make the playoffs or the Cowboys. It really doesn't matter. It's going to be fun watching. Like, let's say they pull a New York Giants and they start going deep in the playoffs. So I knew it the whole time that this team could do it. Like I love watching destiny. People turn around.
It's a miracle.
Yeah. This is what I say as a coach, right? This is what I say is it's not looking good right now for the Cowboys or the Eagles. But I also know that if a team makes the playoffs and they hit stride at the right time, none of that matters.
Any given
If you're playing your best football. Eagles prove that. We did it with a backup quarterback. If you're playing the best you can at the right time, that's really what matters, okay? And that's not me being hopeful for the Eagles. Like where I would be at right now as a coach is using this loss to Miami as a springboard for something, right? Because everyone in the press is like, oh, they're done, they're stupid, they're needed to go, everybody should be fired. I mean, people panicking and stuff. It's like, look, we need to take an honest look at ourselves and like, why did we not win this game? Okay, what can I do better as a coach? What can you do better as a player? And how are we going to find our way out of this? Because right now we're the laughing stock of the league, right? So do we want to remain there or do we want to do something about it? Because there's enough talent in that locker room and there's enough of those Super Bowl players there and there's enough tactics that these guys could rebound and figure out a way. It's still their division to lose, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right? Because Dallas is probably going to lose another game.
At the Dallas could lose this week against Chicago. Like, I mean, this is going to be.
Well,
it's going to be an interesting finish to the season. And again, if the Eagles win out, they got to beat the Giants twice. Very doable. Yeah. Washington.
We have to beat the Cowboys. Yeah,
and you have to beat the Cowboys. I mean, all your games left are divisional games. I mean, you don't know what could happen, but it's very. They could very easily I mean, they're going to win this week against the Giants. The Giants are going to crap the bed.
I would not say anything after last week that the Eagles are going to win. Listen, I just wouldn't say anything.
Yeah, but I've seen the Giants. The Giants are really bad.
Miami's worse, Ray. I don't know if you've been watching the league this year, but
not by record. Miami has a better record than us now.
Ray. Well, so you're telling me there's a chance? That's what you should be doing right now. No, but yeah, it was an embarrassing loss. Like I said, I'm pretty level-headed about these things. I don't go nuts like Ray does, but we all love it when you do. Yeah. But even you are at this point like, oh yeah, they're trash.
Yeah, we're real bad. We're real bad. I just hope,
hope
they make the right decision and fire Shermer and don't hire Jason Garrett. That would be really sickening if the Giants did that.
That'd be weird. You know who's not bad though? The Philadelphia Flyers. So the other Philadelphia team, the one that I follow more, best team in the NHL in the month of November, led all teams in points, finally hitting stride. I don't want to talk about hockey too much today as much as I love that, just because of time restraints, because we're getting towards when we have to do the mashup, but I do want to say that it is nice to see the Flyers finally finding an identity again, finally winning again. A lot of people don't realize this. This is our best record going into December since I think 1995, 1996. That's how good they're playing. An organization that was known for being a playoff organization every year, right? And I remember every year we were always competing, that the Stanley Cup was the prize. You know, that was the goal. And like it hasn't felt that way in a good while. And it feels like we're finally getting back to the right direction of a team that's working their butts off, represents the city. You know, the Flyers really shed the Broad Street Bullies identity a while back. Like, you know, people still tease us about that, but like I haven't felt like we've had that for 10, 15 years. And like now they're just kind of finding this new identity of hard work under Layden Vigneault, a coach you know well. Yep. And I'm happy to see them succeeding. That's all I want to say in the hockey comments. And if you guys hate the Flyers and hate Philadelphia, I don't care, because no one hates my teams more than me. I win.
Congrats! You guys had a great November. You guys definitely turned. I mean, the slow start, but like you guys have definitely started to gel. I also briefly want to mention my Rangers have looked good recently. 4-1-1 in their last 6. Lost last night in an ugly game to Golden Knights, but the Rangers this is when the Rangers had that really weird schedule to start the season off. I think so did the Flyers. Not a lot of games in a long period of time. Now it's catching up to them. 3 games in 4 nights, a couple days off, and then a West Coast trip. Yeah. The West Coast trip is going to be a real test for the Rangers, I think, this year.
Yeah, well, as I predicted, Lundqvist is starting to wake up. He always has a horrible start, and he's starting to play like Henrik Lundqvist again.
But also Georgiev, the backup, had his first shutout of the season the other night too. Against, I mean, it was the Devil. It was the Devils in an ugly game. But every game against the Devils is ugly. It was 4-0 for the Rangers. Rangers scored 2 shorthanded goals that game. The Devils went 0 for 8 on the power play and gave up 2 shorthanded goals to the Rangers, who now lead the league in shorthanded goals with 6. But it's the young core, the young defensemen, Fox, D'Angelo, obviously Capo Caco is starting to hit his stride a little bit.
Hey Ray, do you know why the Devils aren't good this year?
Because they have no goalie.
They don't have a goalie, Ray. It's like when they were ripping us all the time about the goaltending and how Martin Brodeur is the greatest goalie of all time, which he is. And they used to make fun of me and like, you'll never have him. And, you know, we're so good because we got Brodeur. I used to just say it so calmly. One day he won't be there. Yeah. And you will not be good. Yeah. And that time has arrived. You have no goaltender. And listen, Devils fans, I have a lot of respect for that organization. I've done a lot of work with that organization. I know people in that organization, right? When it comes to the team, I don't have a problem. But when it comes to the fan base... I spent 10 years up there listening to you rip on me while I watched you win Stanley Cups and terrorize me. You have no goaltender. You know who has a goaltender, Ray?
The Flyers.
The Flyers. You know who else has a goaltender, Ray?
The Rangers.
The Rangers.
For a little bit longer.
We've got a goalie. You don't have a goalie.
Is that Bernie Perron?
That's Bernie Perron, the original goalie for him. Is just, look at him. He's winning Stanley Cups. You don't have no goalie. Devils fans, I want you to know this. You had this coming. You deserve this. and I want you to take it on the chin like we had to, okay? You deserve this, okay? You had the greatest of all time. You had your victories. I'm even telling it to you. I know Devils fans. Right now you're saying, yeah, we had the victories, but. No. You had the best goalie of all time. You got 3 Stanley Cups. Congratulations to you. The dark times are here.
Winter is coming. Winter.
Yeah. Don't insult my teams. I know. I hate my teams more than you do. But unfortunately, when you have a Napoleonic complex, there's no way out, is there? You're being exiled. You are Napoleon Bonaparte right now. You will return one day, but that is not today. This is Lee Elias signing off. Oh, wait, no, we still have more to do.
We still have a mashup, and speaking of time for the mashup.
Yeah.
Here as we bring episode 34 to a close. Today's mashup is, because we talked about vehicles before, of course, Lee with his Vandalorian. And of course, we had a lot of cool vehicles in the episode this week, and Lee mentioned the Slave One from Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And there was
so that got us thinking. Love that you had segue. So that got us thinking.
Yeah. So that exactly. So that got us thinking.
Yeah.
What pro player should have their own vehicle, and what would they be called, and what would it be? So
yeah.
So Lee, what are your thoughts on this matchup? What pro athlete?
Yeah,
would
I want to get the obvious one. I want to get the obvious one out of the way. I want of Tom Brady flying into Gillette Stadium on the Belichick, which has an incredible tactical, interface, right? Like wherever he needs to know where to go, it's kind of like the Millennium Falcon. It knows where to go. It knows what to do. The TB Belichick. It's not a sexy name, but it gets the job done.
Yeah.
Right? The real question is who's going to take over the Belichick, starship once Tom Brady retires, different captain, move on, but the Belichick will always exist. That's my first one. For some reason, I also have this vision of Henrik Lundqvist flying through space on a goalie pad.
I was thinking there's something similar. The Lundqvist something. Yeah, that would be
the Lung Quest. The Lung Quest. That's very like the Mandalorian.
Always striving to going for the Stanley Cup, but he could never quite get there. Always flying off in search of one, but
yeah. We were gonna do one for Antonio Brown, but he had his foot frozen in carbonite, so we can't do him. He's out. Maybe that'd be called the Lost Bounty.
Daniel Jones can't put his ship together. It keeps all the parts just keep fumbling and falling apart, and I don't know.
Come on, Daniel Jones' ship's called the Duke.
Of course, it's called the Duke.
Yeah, Daniel Jones. What are you flying? The Duke.
The Duke.
It's got multiple reasons. The Duke. I'm trying to think. We have to think of something for like what would Wayne Gretzky fly? What would Shaq fly? There's so many things he could do.
Well, the Shackadactyl.
It's a Buick, of course.
Yeah.
It's got to be a Buick because of his commercials, right? The Shactus. Kobe's flying in on the Black Mamba. That totally works.
For sure.
Yeah. You're gonna have to help us out there when you're listening. Let us know what kind of ships here.
We want to know what your suggestions would be. What vehicle do you think an athlete out there? What vehicle would they fly or drive or pilot? What would it be called and why?
Yeah.
We want to hear from you.
Wayne Gretzky would be the assist maker, not like the Widowmaker, the assist maker.
Yeah.
Because I've said this before, if he never scored a goal, he would still be all-time leading in points in the NHL. It's a true stat. You can look it up. Also, Wayne Gretzky and his brother are the top 2 scoring duo of all time. Wayne Gretzky's brother has 6 points.
Yeah.
top scoring brother duo of all time.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about here, some of these my favorite athletes. We gotta think of something for baseball. Nolan Ryan would fly on the Express. That's obvious.
Right.
Some of these guys.
No, for sure. And it's been a while. Roger Clemens would be a rocket.
Mitch Williams.
He'd be using an illegal fuel, but he'd be on the rocket.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, man. Barry Bonds flies the Asterix.
Yeah.
Right. Mitch Wild thing. Mitch Williams flies on the Joe Carter.
I don't know what Jeter would fly, but he'd be the captain of it. So.
The Players Tribune.
Yeah.
Here comes Derek Jeter on the Players Tribune, fueled by the dreams and ghostwriters of many people.
Yeah.
No, it would just be the ghostwriter. That's it.
Yeah.
Derek Jeter flies the ghostwriter. Players come on board, an article comes out. It's amazing. Right? I mean, Brett Favre. Oh man, that's what we got. The gunslinger. What would his ship be?
I mean, the gunslinger.
He'd probably just steal one. He'd steal a Millennium Falcon from Han Solo.
Yeah,
Like
the thing is, he'd sometimes hit his targets, but a lot of his shots would be pretty wild.
Yeah. Lionel Messi would have a ship, but he gave it away to charity. So it never had a name. The giveaway.
Yeah.
Same thing with Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just too handsome to have a ship. I think his ship would just be his face flying through space.
I was gonna say the Ronaldo. He'd actually have like a boat, but the masthead would be that disgusting statue made of him.
Statue. It's the, yeah. How about the 1980 hockey team would just be flying on the Miracle? Well, that would probably be the Herb Brooks now, but yeah, the Miracle.
Yeah, it's just a giant puck.
Down
It's
docking.
just a giant discus shape.
Hey, there's so many places you can go with this, but like have a think. Right below, what athlete, what would their ship be and why? And then you can go anywhere you want with this. There's a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can go back in history for this one.
Yeah.
Will Babe Ruth fly?
Yeah, I was thinking that the hot dog. Like I don't know. Like
there's a lot of different. So Babe Ruth obviously in his adventures had several ships, right? Like the Curse would be a ship.
Yeah.
Right. Like what they used to call him? The
Whammer.
Yeah. What was his nickname though?
The Great
Not
Bambino,
Whammer.
the Sultan of SWAT.
The Bambino.
Yeah.
Oh, Sultan of SWAT would be a cool name for a ship.
Actually, that would be
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ray, what would your ship be?
What would my ship be?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, you got the
Mine's just called-
Vandalorian. You got the Vandalorian, so you're set.
I have the Vandalorian, but my spacecraft is just called Yes Dear.
Yeah.
So
my car, since it's pearl white, I named my car Martha.
Oh God, you. Why did you say that name? God, actually, that is kind of brilliant.
Yeah.
Now I think about it. So Ray might not say this, but Ray used to drive a black Chevy, and he used to play the Batman theme all the time. We just called it the Batmobile.
Yeah.
And he would get real serious in there.
Yeah.
It was fun. But what do you want to let us know? Comment below.
Yes.
Let us know what ship your favorite athlete would be helming.
Yeah, and let us know. And let us know too. What would be your ship? Let us know what yours would be. I think that's a good.
Well, what is your ship? What's your car's name? If the car doesn't have a name, get one.
Yeah. We want to know. Comment below. Comment on the Facebook group. Comment on SoundCloud, iTunes, the whole deal. But that basically does it this week for episode 34 of Geeks Who Like Sports. We appreciate everyone who listened. Of course, again, share, subscribe, like, give us those 5-star ratings on iTunes. They really help. We really appreciate it. And
tell a friend.
Yeah, exactly. Spread the word. Spread holiday cheer and spread the word. We will be back next week with more Geeks Who Like Sports.